right, so we'll do a few Q&As. There's a process. You probably have done this in other sessions, but you go into your app. If you go to the agenda, tap on this session, and then just go into the Q&A, and either add a question or upvote some questions that are there. There are a few, so I'll go ahead and get started. So, first question. How do you become a leader when people only seem to respond to typical alpha male behavior, like overconfidence in speaking, especially if you aren't feeling confident? Does anyone want to take that? And I'm happy to scoot over too.
Well, I actually like what Sharmeen said, which is just call them out. There's not one way to do leadership, right? Sorry.
Is this working? It is.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I agree. I think for me, the steps were figure out how to regain my confidence and then have a really objective and constructive conversation about it. So you don't come across as complaining, you don't come across as emotional. You go in there, you show the data and the facts, and then you use that to drive your success.
All right. Anyone else? What she said. Okay. We'll keep going. Second question. How do you insert your authentic self during the interview process so that you can make sure it's a good fit for both parties?
I actually start off, it's been a while since I've gotten a new job, but I send my StrengthsFinder results before the interview so that they can get to know me and they can tailor the interview questions around who I am. And that then provides the framework by which I can have a conversation about what I bring to the table beyond the stock interview questions. Kind of sets the tone so that I can guide it.
Yeah, I don't know whether this question is about you being interviewed for a job versus you are the interviewer. But roughly, I do find, regardless, storytelling has been something I've been turning to. Because on both sides, if you tell a personal anecdote of sorts, you can kind of see the reaction from the other side. If you talk about challenges, if they hear about a story of challenge, do they shy away from that, or do they actually, are supportive of you challenging things within the company? So yeah, that's my personal method. It's through storytelling.
Okay, great. We've got a bunch of questions coming in, so I'll try to get through them. Very popular question, Kat, how did you find a sponsor?
I didn't. Sorry. They found me. What I did do was have very candid conversations about what I wanted. I spoke up for the desires that I had for myself, and I did that enough that someone noticed and someone cared. And I found, as I progressed, I don't just have one sponsor, the founder. I have board members, multiple board members that have advocated for me on various occasions. And they have been able to do so because I have asked them. Oprah has a quote, "You get in life what you have the courage to ask for." And so I would challenge you to ask for it.
I love that.
Yay.
Oprah! Yeah.
All right, let's see, another question. How did you decide what feedback to take and what feedback to ignore?
I feel like that's a question for me. I wasn't good at doing this on the spot. I want to put that out there. When I got feedback that I had to step on more toes, I actually I sat on it for a week, and then I went back and I rejected it. So it was very thoughtful, it was very intentional. I also have an executive coach who is fantastic, and I love working with her. I've been working with her for the last year and a half, and I talk to her about these things. So when I get feedback that makes me feel weird or feels a little off, I'll run it by her for a gut check and say, hey, am I crazy here? Does this make sense? And she's like, no, that doesn't make sense. And then she helps me reframe the conversation.
Does anyone want to add, or should I go?
I have this, I don't know if it's time for a story, but I was once told by a board member when I was working at Scuba Live, it was a content marketing software company. He asked me how many Twitter followers I had, and I said 200, and he said that's not enough. As an executive of this company, you have to increase it. So at that moment, I was just like, or what I'm trying to say is I went through this moment of, do I want to follow this advice or do I not? And thinking deeply about it, it's just like, it brings me no joy to be being on social media. I still don't love it. And so it was one of those, I think in my life, the screw them moment, I went and automated my entire Twitter feed. I have 6,000 followers now. They're outside of a lot of my Shopify employee colleagues. They're mostly fake, as in I never met these people. It's the automated. So just say I feel like you need to find joy in that advice. Like if it's something you actually want to develop into, and you feel like you can learn and be happy with it, do it. But if it doesn't, don't.
I used to work at Twitter, but that's awesome. All right. So another one. What was the biggest mind shift that you had to go through as you transitioned from a super IC role to a people leader? Does anyone want to take that?
We're all builders, right? And as builders, we like to see tangible results, metrics, data, movement. And as you transition into management, that gets more and more intangible. The more you deal with people, the harder it is to measure your own output, and it becomes a little fluffy, So that was the hardest thing for me, was going from building and doing and seeing and feeling to, am I doing a good job? Are you guys okay? Everybody good? And learning how to gauge my own effectiveness without having something tangible to prove it.
It's so funny. I call it fluffy too. But similarly for me, it was learning how to delegate and making sure I could set my team up for success without micromanaging them, because no one is served well when you micromanage a team.
Awesome. I know we're running short on time, but this question is fairly popular, if you don't mind one more. And it's, how do you manage pushback? No. Yes. How do you manage pushback to leading when you're thought of as too young, and for Sharmeen and Sylvia facing racial bias too?
That is an interesting question. It's my Asian genes that make me look this young. I was asked, someone at the border, I'm Canadian, so 2 years ago, I was actually asked whether I had a permission slip from my parents to cross the border. So I think it does come up in work. I think people do look at me and think, why, what is she doing in this room, essentially? But what I have found, thanks to technology, is I can get past that by going on phone calls and basically turning off my face in VCs. Because when I talk without them looking at my face, I actually do get different reactions, which is the unfortunate fact, but I have turned to that. And also just using mediums like email or Slack where they actually can't see specifically how young I might look. So.
Awesome. Thank you. Well, I want to thank.
Oh,
I'm sorry. Oh, go ahead.
We can go, we're good. One, thrilled that you think I'm young. Second, I think any relationship needs to be based in trust. And when you try to control when there's not a basis of understanding and trust, people will find reasons not to hear you. That doesn't mean that they won't continue to do that, but whether it is going into a situation as a female, as someone young, as someone of a diverse background, people often try to make excuses for something that they're feeling inside. And so I try to just let's start with a base of trust. Let's get to know each other. And as I prove my efficiency and how effective I can be, it builds trust. And if they ever try to throw a comment at me, I've actually gotten this one, I just wish we had more experience in the team. I get to go like this, like that type of experience. I'm glad we have it too. But that's how I've been able to navigate it, is produce results, have relationships of trust.
Thank you. Well, I hope everyone can give a big round of applause. Thank you so much to our speakers. It's been great to hear the stories. Please share your own stories. And if you have a chance, please fill out the feedback for this session. We'd appreciate it. Thank you.
I'll go back to